This is a production of South Dakota Public Broadcasting.
The reclamation of identity, culture, and traditions are all involved with the reintroduction of the American buffalo. It is an inherent right for tribes to reintroduce and manage buffalo on their reservations to preserve their way of life.
This program is made possible with support from members like you. Thank you. And by
donors to the Explore South Dakota Fund. Support the production of local documentaries and other programs of local interest presented by SDPB. Friends of SDPB appreciates their support of this program.
and by AARP South Dakota, empowering Americans 50 and older to choose how they live as they age, and South Dakota Retired School Personnel, the education community of AARP, advocating for their members and the future of education. And by Great Plain Tribal Leaders Health Board, with a vision that all tribal nations, communities, and citizens achieve optimal wellness by embracing traditional cultural values and innovative and holistic healing practices, strengthened by tribal sovereignty.
The history of the First Peoples and the Buffalo Nation are closely intertwined like two leaves from the same branch. For thousands of years, the buffalo have been a primary food source for Native Americans. Through this relationship, Native Americans were taught how to live in harmony with the buffalo, the land, and the other animal nations, as well as sacred ceremonies and virtues as told in the Lakota legend of the white buffalo calf woman.
Am Betty was Demidakiapi, which Hach Betiksha Machiapi, now Betty Presami, which Oyaki Lavakte. And honey, we will come one, Presami Echiapi, go hem or katahi, Alakota Oyateki, the Hinja Chanupaki, He Unkahipi, not young chick along wami, Malacha called Unkupishke. A long time ago, a sacred woman named White Buffalo Woman came to the earth and brought the buffalo calf pipe to our Lakota people. She also gave us a particular round stone, as it is said. Vichocha tokahe, manahi gluhapi usbevichake, na el chanupa na ia glapi, kta geyeshke, naku vichochang shakbed soyapi kta geyeshke. She taught them the first ceremony, keeping of the souls, and it was introduced by the pipe and stone be used in that ceremony. And as she said, the people will know 6 traditional ceremonies. You can't eaye and ha geyeshke. As she went and said, Maka un traje dopake eye na maka traje treja wahi cham wa chiankapi kta na ichi dopa he ha ya ki ha wagli huni kta eshkeshke. There will be 4 ages. Whenever a new age is arrived on earth, I will see you. And when the 4th has finished, I will return, she said. Oyate wochbe eyapiki, then now usbevichake. Wachatdognake, wonshila, woyunha, Tatanka, wachwala, woyitike, waksape. Then alakota oyateki, opichia, kdakeyashke. She taught them the 7 values: generosity, compassion, respect, patience, gentleness, bravery, wisdom. The Lakota people will be brave according to these rules, she said.
Nahawich och an shakoiki yuhawi chaki bazo, na uspewi chakie, na hingluhampi, hunkayapi, inika hapi, hamblecheapi, wiwayangwachipi, ishnati awichaloapi, na trapawanka yeapi kihe. Na wa uspewi chakia ki he iglushchak uheha iyanikta igluyeyoshke. She also showed him and taught him the seven sacred ceremonies, the keeping of the soul, the making of relatives, the sweat lodge, the vision quest, the sundance, the womanhood ceremony, and the throwing of the ball. And when she had finished those teachings, she prepared to depart. Yuka ako getkia yayecha ki ichuha gnahelaka wiyashni Egypte desaka higni na hehampte mwashagi na ichi chahashke. Yukampte zi ihigni na ehakilapte sa mwaheya takia. Iyanka cha wayanka pishke. Yuka mahbia el atra ishni ayashke. While she was walking away, suddenly she was not a woman anymore, but had become a buffalo cow. She turned into a black buffalo and then made herself into a reddish buffalo. Next she became a yellow buffalo, and lastly she became a white buffalo, running off towards the hills as the people watched, and then she disappeared into the sky.
Chanupa wakan wa wichak uko he pahunki iyaja echecha. Ichi he makaki iyachia kakapishke. Naha pahunki he tatanka pa wa pahopi he wahutopa ki iyachia kakapishke. Nanakusite ki psechti cha he maka el wa ichake ki iyachia kakapishke. The sacred pipe which he gave the people had a bowl made out of red pipestone, made like that to represent the earth. Into the bowl was carved a buffalo bull's head, in representation of the four-legged ones. The stem was made of ash wood, in commemoration of all that grows upon the earth. Yukan duktel prahunki site kichi echi preki hel wambli wiaka akenum otke. Ichi hezitkala ki iuha iachia hechel kahapishke. Na iya mimela u he ish eya iasha echecha. Na agna mimela shakui el owayanka shke. Hena michok awaka shakui ki iachia owapishke. Where the pipe bowl and stem joined one another, 12 eagle feathers hung, made that way in honor of the various bird nations. The aforementioned round sword was also made of red pipestone, and the 7 circles were drawn on it. Those were said to represent the 7 sacred ceremonies.
Lakota wanji chanupa wakanki upa chashna, ye iukama kantia ya wakatanka hoya kiashke. Chawi chokan wakan wanji echunkumpi hantash, el chanunkumpa bishk ohini. Whenever a Lakota person smokes the sacred pipe, it is said that he sends his voice directly to the great mystery. For this reason, whenever a sacred ceremony is performed, the pipe is always used.
Oloa wa pesha wi koka toka ahiari na leha hunia o uku hiayapi ki le a ishketi. This is the song which the white buffalo woman first sang and which we sing to this day. Niata ia mawani I talk with visible breath. Ichi oni ta I ku he chamupa pi cha shota izite ki he I chakashkelo. The visible breath that she was spoken of is said to be the smoke that comes out when the pipe is smoked.
The buffalo provided a renewed spiritual connection amongst the people and fostered a unique relationship and way of life for many years to come.
lived in harmony. We never took more than what we needed. The buffalo taught us all that. Different animals taught us all these things. So, that's why we were in sync, in balance and harmony with nature.
As many as 60 million buffalo roam the region, creating a vast ecosystem that fostered the land and animals around them.
Buffalo are the original climate regulator. That's the way they graze, how they are designed. That's what made the grasslands the grasslands. They have different enzymes in their saliva and snot or mucus that encourage grass growth. They're very intense grazers, so they go across the field and chomp it all the way down, but they keep moving. Their hoof design, it plants that seed deeper, but it also helps other wildlife. Birds use that sloughed hair for their nests to keep their eggs warm. Other insects and microbes gather around the wallows where they put deep impressions and then that collects rainwater. So other animals can either get a drink or multiply near that water source. So, as far as healing the land, buffalo on the landscape is a good thing.
Nothing went to waste after a buffalo was hunted. Every part was used in a variety of ways, such as clothing, tools, shelter, and weapons. Some of these harvesting techniques are still used today.
There are certain parts of the buffalo that when we're processing buffalo today, we always make sure we watch that we don't cut the sinew, so that if somebody wanted to make bowstrings, they could. Taking the hooves apart and seeing the different intricacies of the hoof and using those parts, from rattles to, in the soup pot, getting back to, how that animal was processed and what it provided for all the people. But there is ceremony and there's healing in that. When you harvest a buffalo, they do it a certain way.
This way of life was drastically interrupted as the push for Western expansion grew under a flawed philosophy known as manifest destiny. As more settlers pushed west, the U.S. government enacted many failed policies to deal with the Indian problem. One such policy was to subjugate this problem by destroying the American buffalo.
The history of buffalo is tragic because it was that animal was nearly exterminated to try to control us as Native people, and the thought behind it was we take away their food source and we'll become compliant, and that had detrimental effects to Native people all over the country.
The annihilation of more than 60 million buffalo was a devastating loss to Native Americans and to their way of life. This, along with the establishment of reservations and boarding schools, all but destroyed culture, tradition, customs, and brought Native Americans into a different era of oppression and failed policy that is still affecting the following generations.
one of the things that it did was when I first went there, they killed my spirit. Our hair is our spirit. So when you wake up in the morning, you don't really look at the mug, you look at the dew. See how your spirit's looking. But without my permission, they sat me in a strange chair and they just kind of like sheared me like a sheep. And I watched my hair fall and I cried. And then they made me think differently. Now you're either on that side or on this side. A different, completely different thought process where I thought in more of a circle. And physically, I didn't own my body because when I got there with the clothes I had on, they stripped me, took all my clothes away. And I stood there, I would say, naked truth. I didn't own anything. And I was only 6 years old. They do that in the military. A lot of the veterans I talked to, yeah, they took everything away, stood there naked, but they were young adults. But this is like a 6-year-old, sometimes 5-year-olds. Took everything away and then they gave you clothes to wear. And they gave you a number. So I know, 174 is my number. I still remember it. They put all your bedding and everything, everything, your clothes, your towels, it was in that box. And emotionally, they kind of like froze your emotions. When you're sitting there waiting you had to be quiet. All the time you had to be told to be quiet. Couldn't express nothing. And if you're sitting there smiling, the matrons would walk by. And what are you smiling about? What's so funny? And you put your head down and are you crying? And they kind of push you or something and you start to tear up a little bit. Are you crying? I'll give you something to cry about, you know. And those people that watched us, they didn't have to love us, much less nurture us, or respect us, or honor us. They just kind of like watched you like cattle. You got out of line, get back in line. That's what we always joke about, getting in lines. We see a line, we automatically get in line. Being conditioned, you know. It was all about conditioning your mind. And it was a military tactic. Who invented boarding schools on this? It was a military man, Pratt, Carlisle Indian School. He wanted to kill the Indian and save the man. And that process still goes on. It was like that till about 1960. Then it changed. All the people that used to be abusive were pretty much gone. They hired some really good people that were the guys they hired, the women they hired, they were more like mothers, and these guys were like big brothers.
You know, growing up on a reservation, if you grew up here and you're from here, your understanding to see something big picture, to have perspective, extremely difficult, because just growing up here, you're dealt generational trauma, you're dealt systematic wrongs. You know, I mean, a lot of this stuff is just not, it doesn't click with our people. And I always think about, like, what was the first thing that was taken from us? It wasn't our land, it was our food. Once the food is eradicated,
our connection with the land was severed. So in a sense, the land was already taken from us whenever they took the food. And the way they took the food was eradicating buffalo.
A new era is emerging from the ashes of colonization. An era that is regaining the ways of their ancestors and identity and teaching that to the next generations of indigenous peoples. It's an era of empowerment that shows the world we are still here.
Today, we want to remember Uchi Philomene. I want to remember her in our prayers today because this day, she really looked forward to this day with you students to do this, to share our Lakota ways with all of you young children. And I know her spirit is here today.
Yeah. To me, I think it really looks good. You know, our elders and their elders, they left us enough with our own visions and dreams, and we're going to make it better. Each generation is going to make it better. Yeah, we struggled for a little bit there. Boarding school really did a lot of damage. Yeah, I can talk for hours about that, but we've gone past that now. We've been healing from the boarding school syndrome. So we're now not ashamed anymore.
Yes. It's on that hill still with his truck.
We work with tribes to support however they want to manage their buffalo. Some tribes are, very small. They might have 5 buffalo, but those 5 buffalo mean the world, to that tribe. Other tribes, have over 2,000 and are actively, in the meat sales or, using them as an economic driver as well. So we just try to support tribes at whatever stage they're at and, get them some resources so they can have a successful program. For the most part, we never forget that, our goal is to restore buffalo back for that cultural and spiritual connection that we once had, and that was nearly taken away from us. But we're trying everything we can to bring that back.
1, 2, 3, go! One more time. 1, 2, 3, go!
They always say our language and our culture is dying. No, it's always been there. It's constant. It's still there. It's just that people left. But our young people are starting to come back. We're getting a lot of our young people starting to speak the language now. They're working at it. And then they're getting involved in their culture.
Each year, Mapialuta Red Cloud, a school on the Pine Ridge Reservation, holds an annual buffalo harvest that involves students and members of the community.
I think it's really important to teach our youth the cultural relevance of the buffalo because it's what sustained our ancestors. Our whole culture really is based on the buffalo and how it provides for us and how we can provide for it. And from a food sovereignty perspective, I think it's really important to learn how to use the meat and how to sustain ourselves and know that we don't have to go to the grocery store and get this grossly overpriced meat. It's provided by nature, by Mother Earth, and I think that's really important.
All we do as part of food education is teach kids how our ancestors used to process buffalo back in the day. And through that, we teach them all that we know from what we've learned just by doing this constantly and talking to our ancestors and learning about what our ancestors did in the field when processing this animal. And do we teach the kids? We are the comeback. We are that comeback story that our ancestors have dreamt about.
I just want to be hopeful that there's others, in the future who would want to do this, because, back then we lived like this, and we need to keep that, hold on to it forever, because that's all we have now, this culture, this way of life,